To Canada. Welcome and thank you for joining us today here for our eManifest meeting. You know that the CBSA, the Canada Border Services Agency, has changed the pre-arrival filing rules, which affect you as a freight forwarder directly. And with beginning of the year, airlines and also shipping lines stopped the filing for you, the freight forwarder. And this has resulted in a lot of questions that have reached us. So thanks to Vikram from Global E-Trade Services, who will give us now some answers and provide us with a better understanding of the eManifest process and the application requirements. I hope he will also give us an explanation on the difference between the bonded and the non-bonded carrier code, because that's, I think, quite an important question here. And to Global E-Trade Services, they enable us to connect to Canadian customs. And after Vikram's explanation, I'm happy to take you into the CargoSoft TMS to give you a little to just show you a little bit of the integration from CargoSoft. And we have this little agenda here that you can see. And right after that, we have some conditions to use the integration. And also some of the questions. If you have questions, please feel also free to put them in the web channel. You should be able to write questions in there, and we'll make sure that we get them answered. Maybe to some organizational thing, we will record this webinar. We hope that's okay with you, and everybody can later on have a look at the video then as well. So that's from my side, and let's start with Vikram now. Friedrich, can you transfer the screen? Great.
No problem. Hope no problem. Okay.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So I have been doing these electronic eManifest, eManifest electronic house bill webinars of the Canadian Customs for a few weeks now. So today I would be covering a little bit about what the electronic house bill is. The mandatory date has started from January 4th. So I guess the purpose of the today's session is to know more about the eManifest, or the electronic house bill of the CBSA, the compliance requirements, the timelines, and freight forwarders, how you can, as a freight forwarder, how you can get ready with the electronic house bills. As Kirsten mentioned, there will be a bonded freight forwarder code or non-bonded freight forwarder code, how to apply those. I can just briefly go through it. We can assist you in applying those freight forwarder codes. I think there is a lot of information on the slides, but what if there are any particular scenarios are there with respect to your situations, your company scenarios? We are also arranging one-on-one sessions, so you can send us an email. We can go through those discussions later on as well. So today I'll just cover some high-level basics about the electronic house bills. Before I go to the agenda, just a couple of slides about my company here. What we do here in North America, what are our businesses here in United States and Canada, and we are also significantly present in Asian countries as well. Global E-Trade Services, basically our GeTS is a platform company. We are more of an ecosystem for the supply chain and the trade and logistic industries. we have enabled the orchestration of the physical logistics, the compliance, and the financial requirements of financial requirements actually. So on our platform, today we are almost connected to 61 different customs nodes, more primarily on the Asian side, on the North American side. We also have a very deep government to G2B and a B2B understanding of the market. All of these, we have done a lot of single window implementations in many countries, so that's where we have been working on the customs compliance piece from the last 30 years. Last year, I should be updating this one, we have done almost 30 million transactions on our platform, and almost 175,000 different parties directly or indirectly are connected on our platform actually. So doing all of those transactions today. Our customs nodes are present everywhere. If you see here in the United States, Canada, Panama, Chile, and Asian countries, we would be working on other nodes as well. Especially here in North America, we are one of the leading service providers for the customs compliance. Almost 5,300 plus businesses are using our services today to do the compliance with the US and Canadian customs. Most of those are the trucking companies crossing from Canada to United States or coming from Mexico into United States. They need to do the customs compliance as well. So a lot of companies are using our services. We serve the following industries as well: the freight forwarders, carriers, customs brokers, the BCOs, and others actually. Headquartered in Toronto, and we also have offices in US and Mexico. For today, the electronic house bill, obviously we have partnered with the CargoSoft. To make it more easier for you to do the customs compliance with the Canadian customs. In the phase one, we are of course encouraging you to use our system to do all the submissions. But later on, through the CargoSoft system, you would be able to send all of those electronic house bills directly to us. So you don't have to go to our platform or our web portal or any of the customs portal, but from a CargoSoft system, you should be able to send those electronic house bills to us. Okay. In a very high level, today this will be the agenda. We will talk about a little bit about the electronic house bills, the time frames for all the modes, especially for the ocean and the air. The highway and rail is for the Canadian and the US side, but yeah, ocean and the air, I would cover that. We go through a very basic fundamentals of e-house BL. It's very in deep, but I'll just cover a few steps. We can talk about the next steps as a freight forwarder, what you should be doing, what you can do, and how we can assist you, and then we follow by a question answer session. Okay. I think you might be hearing from all of the carriers telling you these days that they will not be doing the electronic house bill filing for you because this is the reason. Before January 4th, under the ACI supplementary reporting, the forwarders can go back to the carriers and tell them that do the electronic filing with the Canadian customs. So only the carriers had to do it. Actually, forwarders had no obligation to do it. But after January 4th, under the eManifest new customs law, the freight forwarders have become an entity, and any inbound shipment into Canada, all of those which are consolidated, either they are imported into Canada, they are in transiting to United States through Canada, all of those must be reported to the Canadian customs. So it's the freight forwarder's responsibility now, rather than the carrier's responsibility. So that is why we keep seeing these messages on a lot of carriers. They are saying that they no longer will be filing the data to the Canadian customs, so the freight forwarders have to do it. So the question would be, the main agenda of this today's webinar would be how to get the freight forwarders comply with this customs compliance. So we would be able to tell you that how to get the freight forwarder code and submit all of those e-house VL informations to customs. For prop shipments, those coming from Germany and just coming to Montreal but heading to United States, those can be submitted through the supplementary reporting. We do have the system of supplementary reporting as well, so it will continue as it is. You don't need to do e-house bill submissions for those. But for the electronic house bills, there are two different messages, two important messages. One is the e-house VL itself, and then we need to follow up with the close message. I'll quickly show you how to do those on the system. So these are the time frames for reporting the consolidated shipments. For the marine, ocean, or sea mode, you need to report 24 hours prior to loading into the container. So whatever the cargo is coming into Canada, it is not 24 hours before arrival into Canada, but 24 hours before you load into a container. So when you are loading those cargo, the Canadian customs can tell you not to load. They can send you a do not load message. So that is why they want you to submit it much in advance, actually 24 hours before loading onto the container. If it is a shorter distance, then at least 24 hours before arrival. For air mode, it is 4 hours prior to arrival in Canada or wheels up. I mean, some flights would come from New York, so it's at least before wheels up you need to report for the rail and highway, which is for the US side. It is 2 hours prior to Canada, arrival into Canada, and 1 hour for the highway. I will not go very in detail. We have shared some slides on this one, so probably you could take a look into it. But in general, if you look into this screen, you need to submit the electronic house bill. I would take this example always, this container and all of these shipments. So for each of these shipments, you need to submit one electronic house bill. Basically, the house bill will consist of the shipper, consignee, the cargo description, the piece count, all of those information, and you are required to submit all of those within that container. Once all those house bills are submitted for each of these shipments, you will have to submit a close message as well. Basically, it is more about closing the container. So a close message which will indicate that all of the house bills within that container has been filed with the customs. So there are two messages. One is the electronic house bill, which is for each and every shipment, and one single close message, which is for the entire container at the top level. Okay. There are some kind of shipments are there, back-to-back shipments, meaning it is a full container load shipments, one shipper and one consignee. Even those are required to submit a house bill. The buyer's consolidation are when you as a freight forwarder are consolidating all of those shipments in Germany and sending it to a single consignee in Canada. So those also are required to be submitted. In these scenarios, if you see here, right, basically every shipper and consignee, the Canadian customs want to know who is the consignee in Canada that is importing those shipments. Before submitting the electronic house bills, when the consolidated shipments came into Canada, the freight forwarders used to report only at the consolidated level, only at the freight forwarder as the consignee, and the Canadian customs didn't know where these shipments are heading out actually. So that is why they have made it mandatory now that every single ultimate consignee need to be reported on those electronic house bills. Okay. So I'll just show you a high level what the submission flow would likely be. It all starts with let's say a particular ship is coming from Germany to Canada. The carrier will go and submit the conveyance reporting first, followed by he will create the cargo reports. So these are the master bill of ladings the carrier will submit to the Canadian customs. At this point of time, the master bill of lading, the carrier will indicate this as a consolidated or non-consolidated actually. So if it is a consolidated, then as a freight forwarder, you are required to submit those house bills under that master bill of lading. So your house bills will do a reference with the carrier's cargo control number actually. So once you submit those house bills, you need to submit a house bill close message as well. We do support those submissions for the carrier. So here is how all of that filing begins. The carrier would log in into the system, creates the conveyance reporting, which is basically he will indicate what is the vessel name, the voyage, the date, when it is making a port of call in Canada. He will submit the conveyance report first, then followed by the master bill of ladings. The carrier will create all the master bill of ladings or the cargo reports, we call it here. So if you see here, this is the cargo control number starting with a 9000-9132. The carriers are given a 9000 series number, and if he indicates this as consolidated, the supplementary required indicator will be yes. So if it is turned as yes, then it means it is a consolidated, and a freight forwarder will send a house bill under this this cargo control number. So as this is our electronic house bill system. So when you submit these house bills, you will provide the house bill cargo control number, and you will reference the master bill of lading or the cargo report here. So you need to provide the primary cargo control number. This is how the house bill is linked to the cargo reporting actually of what the carrier has submitted. And once the house bill is submitted, if you have finished all of your filing, so in this example, this particular freight forwarder has submitted 11 house bills. If you look into this example, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, 11. Once you submit all of those 11, you need to follow up with a close message submission. Okay, so the changes in the system is basically the submission of the house bill, all of that information, followed by one close message, which is referencing all of those 11 house bills in this example. Okay, the close message is very important because if you do not submit the close message, then the customs will not be able to trigger some of these notifications. So that message is quite critical actually. Okay. This is how the process will happen as a freight forwarder, Canadian or foreign freight forwarder. You will submit the electronic house bills before arriving at the border. Once all the house bills have been accepted, you will follow up with a close message. And this has to be done 24 hours before the container being loaded, before the cargo is loaded into the container. Once the ship arrives at the border, the customs will send you a lot of notifications indicating that the conveyance has arrived, and you will get all of those notifications as well. Once it is, then it moves into the warehouse. From the border, it moves into the warehouse. The warehouse operator will also send you a message. Those will also be triggered down to the freight forwarders. These are all the different types of messages you can get as a freight forwarder. Something like a match message, not match. There are almost 10 different notifications you will get from the customs. If you see the example here, reported, arrived, and released, these are the messages customs will send it to us, and we will forward it to you basically. It will give you a lot of visibility of your electronic house bills at the Canadian side. Okay, so there are certain exemptions are there, but if you see these, all the consolidated in-transit shipments moving from offshore through Canada into United States, if any shipments coming from Europe going via Canada into United States, those need to be reported to the Canadian customs as well. You have an option to use the electronic house bill or the existing ACI supplementary reports. The other way around, if the shipments is coming from United States going via Canada into Europe, those are exempted today. Those need not report the house bills. Okay. Starting from January 4th, the e-house bill has become it is called as a informal compliance, meaning that if you don't submit all these electronic house bill, customs can give you a notice with a $0 penalty because it is still in that 6 months phase. But from July 4th onwards, if you don't submit those electronic house bill for your shipments, there will be penalties from customs. And more importantly, I think those shipments will be held at the border. They won't release until you do the electronic house bills. And the process to submit the electronic house bills, to get the carrier code and to set up everything, on an average, it is taking 2 to 3 weeks. So we encourage you to start that submission of at least the applications to Canadian Customs to get a freight forwarder code and set up a profile with them so that you are ready in time. I think this is where I wanted to cover as a freight forwarder what is required here in Canada to do these electronic house bill submissions. Canadian Customs will give you a freight forwarder code. This service is basically you can just apply with them, and it is a free applications. You will get that 8000 series carrier code. So all of these numbers starts with number 8. So that is why we call it as a 8000 series carrier code. So with this carrier code of the Canadian Customs, you will be able to submit the electronic house bill for all of those consolidated shipments. Either it is being imported into Canada, or if you are exporting anything from Canada to any other countries, you also would require this carrier code actually. So this carrier code for a freight forwarder is a requirement, and it can be used for import and export for both. As a overseas freight forwarder, you can also apply for this carrier code, and you should be able to serve your customers from in overseas, basically from there itself. You can submit those electronic house bill submissions. You need to be a Canadian entity to do those submissions. There are 2 types of freight forwarder codes. One is a bonded freight forwarder and another is a non-bonded. So as a bonded freight forwarder code, you have some extra privileges. So if you see here, if it is a consolidated shipment, you are moving a consolidated shipment itself. You have to be a bonded freight forwarder to do this kind of a shipments. If it is a non-bonded freight forwarder code, it has to be non-consolidated and ultimate shipment. And also as a bonded freight forwarder, you will be able to move the goods inbound beyond the first point of arrival. So if that particular shipment is coming to Montreal and it need to go to Toronto, you will be able to move that shipment with your bonded freight forwarder code. But if it is non-bonded, then you have to release it at the Montreal first port of arrival itself. Okay. Now, some of our customers, they already have this freight forwarder code. So if you have those freight forwarder codes, it is a straightforward. You can send an application. You can go through this link, fill up the applications, and we will send it to CBSA to set up a profile for submitting the e-house bills. So there are 2 different parts are there. One is the application for the freight forwarder code itself, and the second one is basically to set up your profile with CBSA, with the Canadian Customs, to send the electronic house bill. So these are two different steps. So so if you have a freight forwarder code, it is just the application to set up the profile with them. If you do not have a freight forwarder code today, it is very easy. As I mentioned, there are 2 types, bonded and non-bonded. If you are applying for just a non-bonded freight forwarder code, let me see. If you for a non-bonded freight forwarder code, I will share you this link. You can download this application form, fill up this application form, and send it to CBSA, the application with your company documents. It need to be translated into English or French here, but yeah, you can go through that process. We have been already assisting almost 8 or 9 freight forwarders in Germany who have already submitted this application actually. So once you submit this application within a week, within 5 days, I believe you should get the freight forwarder code. But if you need a bonded freight forwarder code, you need to post a $25,000 bond with the customs. So you can apply for the bond in Europe. It is basically an insurance you might be aware about. So along with your application, you submit that bond, and you will get a bonded freight forwarder code. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, as a freight forwarder, you can apply this, and once you have this freight forwarder code, you can offer these services to all of those exporters who are moving these shipments to Canada or United States. You will be able to serve them on the ground. Some services such as last mile delivery and all of those can be offered from your services as well. So it's a great opportunity for you to, in a way, expand into the Canadian and the US markets as well. Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we have been supporting many of the freight forwarder codes in their application process. Do let us know, send us all those details. After you have after you have received your freight forwarder code and you have been set up, then you can use our web portal to submit those electronic house bills to the customs, or we are also integrating with CargoSoft, so you should be able to submit all of those electronic house bills from your CargoSoft access from your system as well. They will come to us, we will process those data and send it to the Canadian customs as well. So yeah, this is what I have to say. I mean, if there are some scenarios where you want to discuss, please send me an email, and we can arrange you more in-depth sessions about how to do those submissions. Where is the shipper? What is the consignee? Whether you need an HTS code, and all of those details I can discuss with you on those. So yeah, that is it I have. Kristen, maybe I will pass on to you to take it from here.
Vikram, thanks a lot. We have two questions, but I think we will answer them at the end after Kerstin presented the CargoSoft integration, and then we can answer all questions in one piece. I think so. So Kerstin, I will pass you the. Okay. Yeah. No, you are okay. You are online. I have done nothing. Yeah. It's all fine. Okay.
Okay, that looks good. Great. Okay, I just need to see it myself. I'm closing down this here. Okay, right. Yes. Okay. So about the integration in CargoSoft TMS. So what we've done. In the sea freight, you can send the eHBL or the bill of lading from the bill of lading tab. There is a special ACI tab inside. You can see it here. So I'm here in a house bill of lading, and I have this ACI tab. And the system fills these fields already from the bill of lading data. So normally you don't really need to modify anything, but there are special fields that you need for the HBL transmission. There are special location codes, and of course we have the carrier and your forwarder code, plus the procedure, what you're going to do. So this is a normal import into Canada. All these fields can be defaulted already into this mask, so normally you don't really need to do any changes. So this is on the house bill of lading side, and when you want to send your consolidated house bills, you would normally do this within your console shipment file. So I'm here in the console, and in this bill of lading again, you can see a consolidation tab for the ACI transmission. So in here in the header, we have the ACI, the closing information, and here at the bottom, all the attached house files are available. You can see here the primary cargo control number, which Vikram already explained is the master loader, the carrier number, plus the carrier code of the shipping line that you are using. So all these details will be defaulted into the page, and the only thing you do is send all your closings, the house bills, And once you receive the okay from Canada for all the attached house bills, this is followed then by the close message. And that's pretty much it. So the system will take the details from the bill of lading, including the description of goods. Yeah, we'll just take it from there. So you can use this in the sea freight right away. Also, the status messages that Vikram mentioned, they will of course come back into the system with the normal status events that we normally use. So you can send yourself your emails and they will appear in the EDI log here in the system in your file. On the air freight side, we are still in the development process. So it will be similar from the screens or from the process, of course, but we are still developing that interface. And we expect this to have this available probably by April, May. So then you can use this full integration from the air freight as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. In the meantime, you can use that web platform. Of course, that's also available to enter the data and do your filing yourself. So that's pretty much about the integration from the TMS. Do you have any questions? Here we go.
So Kirsten, as I was mentioning earlier, you know, if you wish to apply for that bonded freight forward, sorry, the freight forwarder code, you know, it is encouraged to apply, at least to have that freight forwarder code and set up, and it is one-time application, and you will have that code. If you wish to submit those house bills, may not be immediately, but in the long term, then I think it would be good to have those freight forwarder codes at least. So yeah, we have seen a lot of applications for the freight forwarder codes, not just here, but from the Asian countries. There is a huge number of applications coming, and everybody is requesting for those codes. So it's good to have those actually. So yeah.
To do that on time, yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's have a look at the questions. When do we...
Kerstin, siehst du die? Soll ich die vorlesen oder?
Okay. Yeah, when do we get the deconsolidation message? Yeah, that should happen very soon. We can talk about this afterwards. It's part of the status messages that are new. So yes, they should come up very soon. And there's another question.
So if I can add a little on the deconsolidation, you know, when I showed you, right, Canadian Customs have done a good job with these kind of notifications now. Previously, in an older system, all of the notifications were when the cargo has arrived into Canada, they used to send those notifications. But now in the newer system, when you submit the house bill, you will be able to see some notifications immediately from customs, like, you know, of course, when you submit the house bill, it is accepted, then followed by whether it is matched with the master bill of lading or not, whether the broker has done the filing, that also message you will get. Once the broker has done, then you will also get a notification from customs that the broker has done his part of the filing. And after you arrive at the border, when the carrier submits to the customs saying that the conveyance has arrived, it will also send you a notification back saying that your the vessel has arrived into Canada now. Post arrival, when that container arrives into a warehouse, the warehouse operator will send a notifications to Canadian Customs that that particular container has arrived. So it is called as a warehouse arrival certification message. Once you receive the welcome message from the Canadian Customs from the warehouse, it will trigger the deconsolidated notices and that will be sent to the freight forwarder. So the deconsolidation message is one of the most important message for the freight forwarder code, because the moment you get it, so you can go and take the possession of your cargo. So we are receiving all of these notifications. We should be able to, we will be triggering all those notices through us to your system, and I mean, eventually it will be shown as those are the consolidated notices here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Kerstin, machst du die nächsten Fragen auch noch oder liest du gerade?
Ja, ich lese das gerade. I'm just reading.
Sorry.
When container, when you need to book on a new vessel, then the carrier is asking us to resend the eManifest, the new filing because of the new vessel. Is that mandatory? Do we need to resend for a new vessel? Just to update the vessel, is it mandatory to update the filing due to change of vessel name?
So maybe I can answer that. I think if you see that if the vessel line voyage is changing, and if the primary cargo control number, the master bill of lading or the master loader information changes, then you are required to send that new master bill of lading in your e-house bill, if it is associated with the new vessel voyage. But if it is not, in your submission there is nowhere a vessel voyage information. What you are sending is only the carrier code, the primary cargo control number, which is given by the carrier, and if it changes, then you need to resubmit it with a new one.
Okay, so only if the primary cargo control number, the bill of lading number changes. Otherwise, you don't need to resend. Okay, that's good. Perfect. There's one more question. Do I always need to send the ACI filing from a separate console file and TMS, or can I do it in a back-to-back? Yes, you can do it in a back-to-back. So we have the same screen also in the TMS in CargoSoft for the back-to-back. There's also the console tab where you can see the house bill and the closing. So yes, you can do it in a back-to-back as well. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the questions I have here so far.
So I think, before January 4th, as I mentioned earlier, if I look into the bill of lading, if the house bill submissions, the consignees were always one word. Actually, they used to say the consignees as various, one word saying that various. So it means there are so many consignees out there in this consolidated. So which is no longer going to work. So if there is a consolidated shipment, let's say for example, if I am buying a product from five different shippers, all has been consolidated at the origin, and then those 5 different shippers are sending it to me as one single consignee. Previously it was being sent as one single submission. Actually, all of those, the foreign freight forwarder as the shipper and me as the consignee. But in the newer system, we have to submit it as 5 different house bills: the shipper 1 and me and myself as consignee, the shipper 2 and myself as consignee. So every unique combination of the shipper and consignee, it need to be reported actually. So even on the consignee side, if there is one single shipper but it is going to 10 different consignees, then it has to be submitted as 10 different house bills. So the customs want to know the individual party names, whoever is involved in that shipment.
Okay.
Right.
So we have no more questions left. I said I have only one chart. Question is, what kind of costs did you have for this integration with CargoSoft? There are one-time costs. It's only training, normally 1 to 2 hours. Kerstin did a little bit from this during this online presentation. And you have ongoing costs. Maintenance for this integration is 45 euros per month, and we have transaction fee for a house bill or a close message from 3 euros. That's a scale price for estimated 200 transactions per year. But you can also get an individual offer if you send us a short notice at sales@cargosoft.de with your transactions for Canada, house bills, and then we can calculate this individual for you and then send you an individual offer. So that are the costs. And okay, we have another question. Okay.
Doesn't look like it.
I'm a little bit quiet, a minute or so, if there are any questions. Okay. Okay. Kerstin, did you want to say something for this point, the last question?
Will there be a training for the web portal? Well, we can organize a training, I'm sure, with Vikram as well. There is documentation, I believe, available. So this is quite new to us as well. So yeah, I think we can organize that if that's necessary. Yeah.
On the web portal side, yes, you know, those 2-3 steps what we are going through today. Some of the freight forwarders, we are helping them to apply the code as well. Once they get the freight forwarder code, we will send an application to CBSA to set up a profile that this freight forwarder code want to submit the electronic house bills. Actually, this has to be a step 2. So post doing these 2 steps, once CBSA has set up your profile, we will give you a training on the web portal, wherein how to submit the house bills, how to submit the close messages, and etc. So all that will be trained. Obviously, we believe that this will be your this is just you are using this our portal as a temporary means until the CargoSoft system will be ready, and basically after that probably you would be using that one single system to do all of those house bill submissions to us. Not required to come to our portal, but if you need ever, it is always it will always be there for you to access it actually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that answers the question. So no more questions left. But if there is something after this online presentation, please send an email to sales@cargosoft.de, and we will pass this email to Vikram or answer this directly from CargoSoft, whatever is in there. Yes, so thanks a lot. Kerstin, Vikram, some last words to say?
No, thank you so much. I just maybe I might be too much encouraging, but I would just say that, you know, just keep applying those freight forwarder codes. It's free, basically, just a simple application. Once you have it, you never know actually in the next 1 to 5 years you would ever need it. So just have it handy, and yeah, I would. We are here to assist in any ways, whatever it is required actually. So we are also organizing one-on-one sessions. If there is anything of your particular scenarios, do drop us an email, and we will be happy to arrange a call with that as well. So thank you so much for giving an opportunity to talk. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you from my side as well for being here today, and for the interest in this session. And if there are any more questions, just let us know. Okay.
Okay. Yes, please let us know, and we will send a link with the recording of this online presentation, so you can look again or show this to some colleagues or whatever. And yes, thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.